Hi guys, and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. Today we're going to be taking another look at MTV. It has recently been on a bit of a tear, so we're going to catch up with the latest price action of MTV. As we get into this video, if you find it useful and informative, then do go ahead and hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, then do subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so you will be kept up to date with at least 3 videos that we do a day. And if you want more, well, we do actually put out around 8 or so videos a day, so check out the channel by subscribing, tap on the subscription feeds, and you'll find all of the content that we do every single day. Right, let's talk about what's been going on here with 𝗕𝗪𝗧𝗧 and the most recent price action of what's been going on today with MTV. So we're going to start with this weekly chart, just kind of highlight a couple of things that we're noticing here to talk about the progress that we are currently seeing in terms of what is going on over here. Now, obviously we can see that we had a good start to the year, right? Around February, going into March, we really peaked up nice and strong, and then we obviously started to see the correction. This came in pretty much just as we saw Bitcoin have its pullback. It kind of pulled back pretty much all the altcoins. Now, when it comes to micro cap coins like MTV, DSLA, Silo, money flows out of those much faster, and because they're also micro cap coin, you see the volatility a little bit more, right? You see the needle move up really quickly, and you also see the needle move really down, like really fast. But as a result of that, it takes very little money to move the needle significantly to the upside, right? So one of the benefits of micro cap coins is you're going to see thousands upon thousands of % in profit, right? This is kind of what you saw with Dogecoin, right? All that money flowing into Dogecoin from a load of ill-advised people in the space. And as a result of that, there are thousands upon thousands of % of gains were made. Obviously, a handful of people were then able to basically dump their significant positions on the market and basically drop the price down significantly on Dogecoin, for example, right? And as a result, loads of people got wrecked on Doge, and millionaires were also made, right? Because it's a sum-zero game. Ultimately, money flows out of from some people into others, right? So obviously there's very few winners, but there are winners for every loser as well, to a degree, right? So the same kind of scenario happens here when it comes to most micro cap coins, including 𝗕𝗪𝗧𝗧. So a small amount of money flowing in sees significant gains. So today we can obviously see a good run. We've gone above the previous high area of 1.8 cent. I think today we've actually gone up to a high of 2.1 cents. Okay, so again, when we were calling this out, I think it was like 0.003, some point around these low points. I forget exactly where, but again, doing really well. And obviously there was some good accumulation zones where you're able to basically accumulate significant positions ahead of where things are going, right? So if you're fortunate enough to kind of catch the dip down here, or even some of these earlier stages just down at the bottom here before really going up to the next level, right? Anything lower than a cent, you're already seeing a pretty good return on investment. And again, we are looking for at least another 347% from the current position up to about 9.2 cent. But like I said, it's a micro cap coin, so a very little amount of money that flows in will see a significant push that it's probably going to go and blast past the Fibonacci full extension of the 4.236. So again, there's 2 scenarios. There's a scenario for 9.2 cent, there's a scenario for 7.2 cent, and I wouldn't be surprised if we actually see this thing just literally mooning all the way up to around the 30 cent area, right? But again, that really depends on marketing and kind of getting the name out there, and lots of people talking about it and what the project is about and the developments that are going on there. We've already seen good progress with staking. The 1 billion target has been taken out. The 2 billion target has been taken out. There's now a 3 billion target. And again, you were looking at a serious amount of MTV out of circulating supply. So if demand actually does really pick up fast for this token, we're going to see it absolutely explode to the upside in the same way that we saw, like, Dogecoin as an example, right? Going from those super low value to decent 60 odd cent valuations, right? And it doesn't take a lot of money to actually move the needle when a lot of it is actually taken out of circulating supply, and the fact that there isn't that many coins in it anyway, right? So for me, MTV seems like a pretty good investment. It's done very well for me so far. It has it's added a 0 to my portfolio so far. So definitely, a good investment for me personally. Hopefully it has been a good investment for you guys too. Let us know in the comments below if it's working for you like it's working for me, it's working for Chris, and it's working for a few others I know as well. So let me know how you're getting on with your MTV and things like that. If it is one that you're invested in, if you're not invested in it yet, then do check out what's going on with some of the technical analysis. I will try to also do a little bit of a buy zone area, I think, when we start seeing some dips. So once we get a bit of a correction, correction, we'll obviously go into where I would be accumulating more. I don't need more MTV, but I'll do where I would be buying if I were in the mood for a purchase with MTV. So on this weekly chart, we can of course see that we are moving to the upside, significantly. Now we take a look at where we were previously, right? During this run from February up to about April, we saw that we were overbought, and before having that correction, the correction took us right down into the oversold area, and we're right back up into the overbought area, right, as we're approaching this area here. Now, and we take a look at how long we were up here for. Well, we're actually up here from February through to April, so a couple of months at the top here, so we can endure that for a bit longer. And again, a few months here would basically be taking us through pretty much the end of the year, right? So we could see this thing kind of peaking out pretty good, and before we go into a bit of a bear market and a bit of a pullback, at least on this weekly chart. Now, obviously on the dailies and the hourlies are going to be different. So we know that we can be up here for a while. And again, this is pretty much in line with many of these other altcoins at the moment. They're all going quite well. Obviously, Bitcoin, I think, is just kind of hovering around the 50K area. But otherwise, yeah, I think everything's starting to heat up a little bit, but we are cautious that there are some areas that do need to see a bit of a pullback. But for now, we've had a pretty good run, so I am kind of expecting a bit of a pullback at some point, but I don't think it's going to come just yet. I think we've got a little bit more growth to go before we start to see a small pullback, at least on the daily, and then we'll continue the growth to the upside. So, on the bigger picture here, I think at least another 347%. And then, we'll really be into new territory in terms of discovery at that point, depending on the level of marketing and kind of progress that the project is making. New listings on exchanges, that could be a big catalyst for change. So lots of things to watch out for there. Now, we jump down into our daily. Here, again, like our weekly chart, we can obviously see that we are heading to the overbought area. We're not quite there yet. We were overbought here, right? We had this good push to the upside initially, good correction. Here we had the pullback, taking us to the support line of 0.005. And again, this is an area, I'll just get rid of that for a second, an area that was basically a good kind of support for us. We pushed up back into the overbought areas. We headed up towards our 1.1 cent resistance line. Again, a pullback here of quite a small pullback, really. It wasn't a significant one. Took us right back into the oversold area, and now we're back to the overbought area with a significant push to the upside. This kind of pattern, if it can be repeated consistently, would put us in a pretty good traction. Here we can see some serious growth volume here on the daily, right? Obviously, during this kind of correction wave, we saw the volume being nice and low, but obviously during this first part, we saw good volume come up, and then the volume drops down in a corrective state. We started to see the volume coming back up again. So if we start seeing this rise and continue to rise, which I think is a good possibility, then we could start to see a pretty good traction here for MTV continue. But again, we will be looking for pullbacks, not too dissimilar to what we saw over here. Maybe it might be 10, 15%. It really depends on what's going on in the space. Let me just grab my price range here, and we'll take a look at what this pullback was, because this was quite a good one. So yeah, we looked about 27%, quite a small pullback, nothing major. So look for that. We'll look for a small pullback to occur over several days at some point. We're not there yet, so we've got plenty of time to still push to the upside until that kind of correction is needed. So we look for these kind of pullbacks, right? We have a good overbought, we have a pullback, we go to overbought, we have a pullback, and then eventually we'll go into the overbought area, we'll have a pullback, and it'll probably be about 20 or so %, and it'll be perfectly fine. Again, an opportunity just to accumulate if you wanted to dollar cost average better positions. And again, Multivac's one of those projects that I want to be looking at it from a long-term perspective, but I also want to see how the teams are progressing with things over the bear market as well, because accumulating this during the bear market might be a really smart idea, but obviously we'll review that closer to the time. We can see that we have, of course, taken out that 1.8 cent area. That was the previous peak here in April the 13th, okay, before we started to see this correction. So now we've gone past this today, right? We'll look to kind of continue this growth as we go up to the 2.8 cent, which is the first target on the Fibonacci. We obviously have a look at the 2.618. This is 4.5 cent. The 3.618 is 6.2 cent, and 7.2 cent is 4.236, but that is only one scenario. We also have the high point over here, and this particular high was actually set on the 9th of April 2019, and again, that came in at 2.2 cent. Okay, so we're close to that right now, obviously just a little bit short of it. But again, that high point and the low point, which actually came down significantly lower, all the way down to here, which was 0.0000359. And this then actually shows us with an extension of a 9.2, which is where our percentage gains come into play here. So 342% takes us to that 9.2. But again, I think that we'll actually probably end up blasting quite significantly higher, depending on the level of progress that we actually have, right? So if I grab my percentage here and I just look to move this up towards that kind of 30-cent target, that kind of mental block there, you're talking about 1,300%. So again, there's lots of progress can be made in a very short space of time. But we just need to kind of play out to see exactly what happens in terms of marketing. So for me, that's kind of the main driver. Obviously, we talk about it on this show, but this channel is relatively small. We're 4,000 subscribers now, which is fantastic. Really appreciate everyone's supporting the channel. But in a grand scheme of things, that's quite a small channel for kind of communicating out the level of caliber that this project has, right? So the more channels that start talking about it, the more news articles and media outlets that start talking about multi-vac, the better for the adoption side. With so much already staked, the demand coming in with the supply that's already squeezed, we'll see this thing potentially push up to that kind of 30-cent level. It will not take a lot of money to do it. So again, I think the marketing is absolutely key in pushing this. Again, with marketing, you also need to have a good exchange listing that's easily available to the masses, right? In terms of easily accessible to people that might be used to investing on Coinbase, Binance, or something to that effect. Currently, KuCoin has a good amount of the trading volume at the moment, so you can, of course, use KuCoin. But again, you might want to find alternatives, good decentralized exchanges as well to list it as well. So I think there's some things that need to be worked on, but otherwise as a whole, multi-vac is performing incredibly well. I think it's going to continue to perform incredibly well as we kind of go into now price discovery mode and start to think about taking out some of these price targets. When we jump down into our hourly view, we can see that again we're heading up into the overbought area. We're not quite there yet, we're just hovering around and we're progressing nicely. We can see here there's little kind of baby corrections on this journey, and this allows us to correct this stochastic every single time. And there is an upward trend here where we can see this pattern kind of forming quite nicely as an upward trend. And this is on the hourly, so obviously, it can be invalidated very, very quickly. But eventually, once we're up in this overbought area for a little while, we want to see the correction. We want to come back down, have a nice correction. And that can be as simple as what we see over here, a good push to the upside, very little price correction, but all the momentum comes out and basically allows us to correct basically by trading sideways, brings us to the oversold area, and then we get this another kind of move to the upside. So multi-vac's performing quite well. We throw the volumes on here. You can see that there's lots of buying volume and very little in the way of selling volume right now. So again, very, very good kind of analytics here on where things are going and looking pretty good for multi-vac moving forward. So again, we can obviously get too focused in on these hourly views, the daily views, but for me, just zoom out to the weekly. Everything is looking pretty good. We're getting some pretty good traction here. We'll look maybe for a pullback soon. It might be a couple of weeks from now, and we'll watch for that, buy that dip if we need to. Obviously, personally I don't, but Chris might be in the mood to buy the dip. I'll do some kind of member only videos on buy zones for MTV as that kind of scenario crops up. But for now, everything looks like it's on track. It looks like it's still got plenty of room to grow to the upside. So we'll monitor that situation. Otherwise, enjoy those gains. They've been very, very good for us. And I think they are going to continue. And I think this project is going to impress an awful lot of people in the space, both from like a technology point of view, but also from an investment perspective as well. Guys, if you have found this video useful and informative, hit the like button. I really do appreciate that. If you are new to the channel, then do subscribe, tap the bell, select all notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here. With that said, done, and out of the way, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and I'll catch you all in the next one.